Hello, I have another reading for you today. Oh man, and it's an interesting one. I already got all the cards out, and I'm going to tell you ahead of time some themes. So the themes are around choices, deception, protection, alignment. Things are not what they seem, is what this reading is suggesting, at least for one of the options in a choice that you feel like you need to make. So you will know this reading is for you if you do feel like you are facing a choice, or that you are in somewhat of a fork in the road, which is a decision point. So I'm going to pause here and let you watch me get the cards out on the table, and then I'll come back. Welcome back. So let me describe the underlying energy of this reading first. So the underlying energy of this reading are, you're sort of in this guarded place. This is a very boundaried place. This person who's in this position does not feel as though the situation is entirely clear or safe and has decided to erect some sort of protection, okay? Underneath that, interestingly, is the Nine of Pentacles. So it would seem that this person is protecting their abundance, their vision of abundance. I think of the Nine of Pentacles as very independent and sovereign, feeling guarded around that. And it would make sense because another card that I got for underlying is manipulation. So there is manipulation going on somewhere in this reading, and I'll describe that when I get to it. And underneath that, though, is faith. So it would seem that as a theme underlying this reading, that when it comes to the manipulation, the way through is faith. That there is a process that will help you get clarity and that will help you move through the fog. Because it does feel like the area around where there is manipulation, it might feel like you're walking through the dark a little bit. So it will require some checking in with your intuition, with your knowing, and with your source, with the source that grounds you, whether that be God, universe, however you describe it. There's something about that that's going to be important in navigating the situation that feels really almost like you're blindfolded. And then I also have the Trojan horse and Cancer, the astrological sign. So the Trojan horse really represents to me one of the choice points. This is the reason why I said things are not what they seem with one of the choices. And so this Cancer card to me simply means to be protective for yourself around that, to be on guard, to put your shell on when figuring this out, and allow yourself to be in a place of, like we described earlier, this protection. Okay, we're still just talking about underlying energies. And then I have conclusions are within reach and prosperity lies ahead is underneath that. So I really want to emphasize this point that there is a lot of encouragement here. There is a sense that like you're wrapping up a cycle, and it might feel really intense at some point if it's not feeling that way now. That's because you almost have reached the end point of this cycle. And there feels to be something of I don't want to say test, but I kind of want to say test because you're being asked to really check in with who you are on the inside as you make this decision. Okay, so I want to compare and contrast the first and second row because they do very much work off of one another. So in the first row, I have the Ace of Swords, which is a gift of clarity. And then there's this beautiful beginnings card here. So what I like to think of, see how she's holding this spark? I like to think of this as you, and you have this like innate spark. It might be an idea that you have that is just sort of like been growing in your heart, a longing, a sense of something that you are yearning for or wanting to move toward. And then this gift is given of clarity around that. So when you put these two together, you have this spark, this desire to take action toward action steps towards something that you long for, and clarity around that arrives. And that seems to be a gift because clarifying this, I got the ancestors card. I like to think of the ancestors as a card that reflects your spirit guides, your ancestors in spirit, generations of people who came before you, who are cheering you on, who are guiding you. And then I have in this first row the stork card. And the stork simply means that in this row, what we're talking about, the process that we're talking about, seems to be a beautiful thing. It seems to be that it would bring blessings and abundance. It seems that it would be worthy of celebration and all the good feelings. This is a good feeling row. This spark with ancestors providing clarity, and then this stork punctuating what that means. Contrasting that to the second row, what I have is a very similar card to this one, which is the one we just talked about, and it's this focus card. Notice that these two are facing each other. Here you have the fire to take action, and the gift that was given was mental clarity. Here you have mental clarity, and then the gift that's given is action. These are both gifts. In the first row we had mental clarity. In this row we have the power and the will to act. Interestingly, these two rows seem to be mirror images of one another. But in the second card, what's striking to me is that she's starting off with a place of knowing. And then there's a gift that comes along and says, okay, let me tell you how to get there. In this row, what it's clarified by is occupation. So this seems to be pertaining to something involving your work. It has to do with your divine calling. And clarifying that, we have chaos. And then Phoenix. So this row is a little more complicated, right? It's sort of like starting from a place of a spark of knowing, then a gift comes along and says, let's go this way. And what seems to ensue in the area of your divine calling is a little bit of chaos. If we're talking about this being a separate path and the fork in the road, what it feels as though it's saying is that you would encounter chaos that you would then be required to rise from. It's a little bit of a rockier path. What I want to say is then that this is probably the path that you would be encountering the Trojan horse on because of the chaos and because you were called to protect yourself, to put your shell on in response to that. Also the path where maybe there's some manipulation that would require faith to navigate around. And then in the third row, what I have is Two of Cups, which is a partnership. This can mean love. This could be partnering with another person in your calling, in your work, in your goal-oriented vision for your future, some sort of significant pairing. This could be about choosing something with respect to a partner. And because there is this occupation card, it could very much be about partnering with somebody or with an energy of some sort in your workspace, in your divine calling. Okay, so in that row where we have the Two of Cups, we also have protection, we have hunger, and we have a 4-leaf clover. So interestingly, this seems to me to be speaking of the fact that you are protected. Maybe even in this, this partnering, what I'm picking up on from this right now as I'm looking at these together is that you're being asked who to partner with or what sort of energy to partner with moving forward. On one end, there's a little more chaos. On the other end, you seem to have a lot of protection from your team, whoever your team happens to be. But you are protected. There is luck. And this is an interesting card to me to sum up this row. The story around this card is the story around the wolves and which one you choose to feed. So you have two wolves. It's essentially like the wolf that wins is the one that you decide to feed. So this is highlighting the choice that you need to make. Even if you think that you're not being faced with a choice, this is signifying that whatever you're giving your energy to, that's what you're choosing. So if let's say that you didn't even realize that you were facing a choice because you're not really paying attention, maybe life is hectic and crazy and you're just sort of like moving forward one day at a time. What you might not realize is that in doing that, you are making a choice of some sort. You are choosing sort of like to go with the flow, or you are choosing to not necessarily have to choose, which then makes it so that life chooses for you, which then brings on a whole host of of implications and consequences, maybe a little bit more chaos. Because it does seem to suggest that what you want to be feeling into as you're making a choice or as you are navigating your next steps is your inner knowing, like I said, because in the next row, what we have is the King of Wands. The King of Wands is very much about leadership and divine vision. And that's another reason why I was saying like this fork in the road seems to be about what you're partnering with or who you're partnering with moving forward. Because in other words, it's sort of like, what is your vision? What is the vision for your life? What is the vision for how it is that you see yourself? If your actions really do define who you are on the inside in many ways, your next steps are going to illuminate a little bit about who you are. So choose carefully. Along with this row, what we have is purity, unicorn, divinity, love offer, and thoughts. This row seems to really be trying to get you to tap into the energy of love, of magic, of possibility, of simplicity. And there seems to be uncertainty about that, right? I mean, this card really does seem to be like, if you put these two together, it's like, here's a love offer. I don't know. I'm not sure that that's the path I want to take. This other path looks really interesting because there's a big horse on it. And I like horses, you know, the Trojan horse. So my sense of this row seems to be really encouraging you to reflect on which path gives you the feeling that these cards describe to you. It is infused by love, that there is this sense of possibility and magic, and that you feel lit up on the inside with that possibility, a sense of purity. The way that the book describes this card, it's not talking about purity in terms of innocence. It's purity in terms of the way that, and it gives a metaphor, like the way it feels after it snows. You know, that beautiful reset button. The sense that things have been cleansed and that now things feel fresh and clear. Okay, so in the next row, we have a little bit of a different kind of energy. It seems to be describing the more chaotic path. Because it starts off with this Two of Swords, which to me is like a big no. It's like boundary. It can also signify the need to make a decision, but it always feels to me like you're blocked. I'm blocking you. That's the way that it feels, a very protective energy. She also can't see. She's blindfolded. So she's really having to tap into her inner knowing and her intuition, which is reflected here by the moon to me. So I'm getting this sense like you might be feeling inside, if you were to tune inward, that one of these paths bring out a feeling, maybe it's a gut feeling of no, of blocking. There is this instinct that you might already have, a sense that you need to protect. Your Nine of Pentacles, like I was saying earlier, there's something for you to protect there. And so in this row, along with the Two of Swords blocking, we have compass, angel, anchor. Let me start there because I kind of got a lot of cards. So what this felt like to me is that one of the paths seemed to be wanting to anchor an angel, wanting to anchor you down in the long run, even if it looks really promising on the outside, that one of the paths aim to really weigh you down in the long run. And that figuring your way around this is going to require that inner compass, that inner knowing, and for you to honor this feeling, this sense, even if it's just an intuitive nudge that you can't really give words to, that you can't really explain why. There is a reason why. There's a lot of assistance behind you that's trying to give you the nudges. It's throwing four-leaf clovers at you, that's giving you protection, that's trying to light up the path that would be less chaotic and offer you safer passage. And then along with that, we have this beginnings. This to me just signifies what one of the paths might look like. There is this, again, the moon that's illuminating your inner knowing, your inner understanding. You're sort of using that to guide you forward to green pastures. You're moving through this domain that may feel a little bit cold and isolating, and just trying to feel your way with your blindfold on toward the green pasture ahead. And then along with that, I have this bondage card. What this feels like to me is a little bit of this. It's like the anchor. One of the paths really does feel as though it's tying the hands of the angel, whatever that means to you, that it would make it hard for you to feel like you could speak your mind. It would make it hard for you to feel like you could take control of your own life for whatever reason. Hands are tied, right? And anchored down. One of these paths clearly do not feel like it would be the optimal way to go. But the good thing is that to know that there is a sense of inner knowing that you're probably having about that. If this reading applies to you, please only take this reading if it applies. Because if any of this does not resonate with you, if it's not confirming something that you already know inherently is happening in your life, then it could lead you to look at your life and wonder, what's anchoring me down? What's happening? This reading does not have to be for you. It's not for everybody, that's for sure, because this is a really specific message. Okay, so in the last row, what I have is this 8 of Swords. Again, there's a boundary and feeling really tied up and blindfolded, right? Like she's really held back here. And traditionally in this card, what people talk about is that what's causing a lot of this feeling is in her own head, because swords are thoughts. Maybe that's an element here that part of what would lead you to feel this way on one of the paths is that one of the paths would get you deeply into your head and second guessing everything you do for whatever reason, and that you would be your own hostage. You would be your own anchor. Or it could be that there's something external on one of the paths that could leave you very much feeling that way. These restraints are tied on very loosely. She could easily get herself out of here, but because she's scared and blindfolded and caught up in her own head, she's not freeing herself. And so in what instances would we choose to do that? Well, in instances where we're really used to navigating a lot of abuse. So this might be external, this might be internal, this might be the habit of putting yourself in situations that are not for your benefit. This could be a pattern of how you look at yourself and think about yourself that is very detrimental to your well-being. One of the paths do seem to be themed around this idea that there would be manipulation of some sort that would keep you really tied up in your head and really in a place of lack. For whatever reason. You can apply this in a metaphorical way, or you can apply this in a really literal way. God forbid that anyone watching this video is facing any sort of abuse. And if so, please do seek help on that and reach out to your community, reach out to your support, because there is support available. But I do think for many people, this reading is more nuanced and subtle than that. That we may not be talking about something really blatant, that we may be talking about something that is more interior, and circumstances and patterns that we tend to perpetuate and repeat that keep us in a place that feels very small, very confined, and very self-limiting, and maybe even externally limiting. Along with that, in this row, we have change. And it feels as though that's what this whole choice point is about. That this fork in the road is there because it's meant to trigger change. It's meant to have you commit. Are you going to continue going down this path, which might have been harmful to you in some ways, or really kept you feeling small, constrained, that really contained illusions around what could be possible for you in the future? And instead, what really was further down the path is more and more of the same, more and more feeling constrained and small. Or are you going to choose this other path that is asking you to choose self-love? So interesting that in one row we have the juxtaposition of these two cards. It's very striking to me, along with this change card. So it seems to be really asking you to choose. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be moving forward? What environments are going to help you get there? And are you going to make choices that support that? Or are you going to shrink under the weight of that decision and sort of just let things continue to evolve as they will, which is making a choice as well. The last card in that row is this book card, which talks about hidden information. And to me, that's simply talking about this, that there are hidden elements here. That's part of why there are these blindfolds in a couple of the cards, that you are navigating in the dark, that things are a little unclear. So you will need to tap into your knowing, your intuition, in order to feel your way through. It also seems to be suggesting that the path that looks a little bit more sparkly or a little bit more interesting or a little bit more exciting might not be it. It might not be it because that's what this would feel like, right? But the path that is better for you is more like this. It's soft, it's quiet, it's clear, it's pure, it is magical. There is magic contained in it. There is love and divinity, but it might not feel exciting. It might not feel sparkly. It might not feel fast enough. So this to me highlights the fact that the path that is more limiting in the long term isn't going to look like that on the outside. It's probably going to look really enticing. Hey, come this way and we'll get you to where you want to go more quickly. Come this way because it's exciting. Look, there's a giant horse and I can make you promises of X, Y, and Z. No, it's not going to manifest that way, is what this is suggesting. Okay, so the last cards that I pulled are just to sum up some of the energy, and it's believe in the impossible, confidence is your key to success, and surrender to the divine. That big old moon again. So when I see this, a little bit of what it brings to mind for me is this need for self-love, because with this energy, anything is possible. And it's saying, believe in that. Believe in that. Have confidence in who you are and what you're capable of doing. You don't need the Trojan horse. All you need is to surrender to the divine. The divine has your back. You have so much support. It's going to require a little bit of a surrender, a trust fall, in order to go down this other path that might not look quite as enticing, because maybe it feels as though it'll take longer to get where you need to go on that path. Maybe it feels as though it's a little boring, or maybe it feels as though it's just not enough fire, not enough heat. But on this path, you bring the fire, you bring the heat. It's in you. It's not outside of you. It's not on the path. It's in you. In comparison, on the fiery Trojan horse path, the heat is outside of you. It's external. It's somebody saying, hey, let's go this way. This is the way. It's exciting. There's action over here. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I hope that it gives you some clarity. I will come back with a new video soon.